Good afternoon, Israel Briefers. My apologies for coming to you so late. I'm traveling in Canada, as you know, and I've actually gone back in time. So I've gone back, I think it's about 3 or so hours, and tomorrow I'll go back another hour, and then I go forward 3 hours. So I am busy trying to adjust to the time differences. And it is September the 11th here in Canada. And this is an Israel brief with a difference, because I thought about what I wanted to say. And instead of bringing you the news today, I want to speak to you from my heart, especially in light of the events of the last 24 or so hours. First of all, it is the 11th of September. And today we mark 24 years since the terror attacks on the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the United 93 flight that crashed into a field in Pennsylvania, when those brave souls above that flight decided to take their fate into their own hands rather than let the terrorists commit another act of atrocity. And the last 24 hours have got me thinking about the events of 9/11 and how we live almost in a post-9/11 world, when there is a whole generation of young people that don't remember what happened and don't remember the war on terror and the imperative that we fight the scourge which is holding the world to ransom. It is also day 706 since the 7th of October, our 9/11 in Israel, where over 1,200 of our citizens and foreign nationals were murdered and over 250 taken captive, 48 of whom are still being held in the hell of Gaza by Hamas, and we want them home now. We need them home now. And for Israelis, our resolute support for our great ally, the United States, is never wavering, because we understand what it is like to have terror impact you in your home. And as we are all aware, Charlie Kirk, a great leader of his generation, a man who inspired millions of young people, a man who you don't necessarily have to agree with his political opinions. But one thing that Charlie did, and if you don't know who Charlie Kirk is, Charlie Kirk was a conservative pundit and somebody who had really, in his 31 years, achieved a tremendous amount, somebody who you knew was going to go on to do great things. And the reason I want to talk to you about Charlie is not just that his death is felt so deeply personal to so many millions of us around the world, whether or not we agreed with many of his opinions, but he was a man who was an interrogator of truth. He sought out discourse and conversation. He wanted to hear your opinions, whether or not he agreed with them. He wanted to engage. He was an incredibly gifted speaker, an incredibly gifted debater. He was a man of immense faith in his Christian faith, a man who held the values of the Judeo-Christian faiths as his North Star, as his guiding light, as his value system, a man who was a husband and a father to 2 small children, and a man who you just knew was what we in Yiddish would call a mensch. And yesterday's events have shaken so many of us to the core, because it's not just about the vile act of violence that has ended his life and robbed a wife of her husband and 2 beautiful little children of their father and parents of a son. It's that we are at a stage in our history where people are so polarized. You are either this way or that way. You are either pro-Palestinian or pro-Israeli. You are either left or you are right. And Charlie sought the middle ground. Charlie sought a way that we could speak to each other regardless or not of whether we agreed. The important thing was to engage. And I've been thinking over the last 24 hours at where we are in this point in our history. And one of the reasons we created the Israel Brief is because myself and my two partners at Lay of the Land believe that you don't get to hear Israel's side of the argument. You don't get to hear what we as Israelis are experiencing, and you don't get to hear the news from Israel because we are in such a polarized world that even our media has taken a side. As a journalist, and I know I'm rambling on, guys, but I wanted to speak to you from my heart. This is not planned. This is completely authentic because I don't like to hide anything from our beloved community. I work in a field, the field of journalism, that has now been overtaken by clickbait and 24-hour news cycles and activists. And this is having a real effect on the safety of Jewish communities around the world and the perspective that people have of the state of Israel. And the reason we created the Israel Brief was that we could bring it to you warts and all, and you could form your own opinion. It is our way of having a conversation with you. And I've been thinking how we honor Charlie, a great supporter of the state of Israel and of the Jewish people, a great voice out there against anti-Semitism, which is rife anywhere you go. And Charlie could be critical of Israel, and that is fine. It's fine to be critical. But he never denied us our existence, and he stood resolutely behind our right to defend ourselves in the fight for our very survival. And you can see by the tributes that have come in from Prime Minister Netanyahu and various ministers, and I found out through the Prime Minister's message that he was scheduled to come here very early next year. And we would have welcomed him with open arms. So I've been thinking, how do we move forward? Are we at a stage now where if somebody has an opinion that's different to yours, you feel that it's okay to kill them? We saw it in Washington in May, when Yaron and Sarah, two Israeli embassy workers, were slaughtered in the name of Free Palestine. We've seen it on the attempts of the lives of politicians, including President Trump, whether or not you like his policies or you like him as a leader. And we saw it yesterday in front of what can only be described as traumatized students at the University of Utah. I disagree with you, so I have the imperative to kill you. I've seen it in the grotesque messages on social media celebrating the slaughter of a young man whose life was full of promise. For our sakes and the sakes of the next generation, we have to say enough. Enough is enough. Where does this end? How do we find our way back to the center, and how do we find our way back to dialoguing with each other? And so I'm asking you, my own personal plea to you, my incredible Israel Brief community. I am asking you, when you see reports, not to just take it at face value, to be a warrior for truth, to interrogate information, to make up your own mind, and to engage in dialogue. I love that we have Q&A on this channel. I love that you guys ask me the sometimes difficult questions. I love sometimes that you comment and sometimes you hold me to account, and I love you for that. So I want to thank you, and I want to dedicate this broadcast in memory of the great Charlie Kirk. May your memory be a blessing. And this is in the name of all those who continue to fight every single day for the values of truth, for the values that we hold sacred to us, and for those who are fighting for the important right that we have free speech. We don't have to agree with each other. We don't have to like each other, but we have to learn to respect each other. So guys, from our beautiful hotel room in downtown Calgary, which is just an exquisite city, on my Just the Facts speaking tour as part of my portfolio for World Wheatso, I wish you guys a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for your patience with me this week. Thank you for being my company on my travels. God bless you, and Shabbat Shalom.